Palestinian leaders are reporting that more than 500 people have been killed in Gaza, including at least 90 children, more than 2,900 Palestinians injured. And according to the UN, more than 120,000 people have now been displaced there within the Gaza Strip. Thousands of homes and apartments destroyed, ambulances, health facilities, all damaged.
And for more on the impact on Palestinian civilians in Gaza, we're joined now by Noura Erakat, a human rights attorney and associate professor at Rutgers University. Thank you for being with us, Noura. For an American audience, help us understand the humanitarian situation in Gaza. I've been there. It is a small area. People might not realize how small, and very crowded. And they have been under Israeli supervision. They've been they were able to the Israelis pulled out, but essentially they've been governed by Israel for many years now. What's happening to Palestinian civilians? What's life like there leading up to these terror attacks?
I appreciate the concern for the Palestinians who are held hostage in the Gaza Strip in an open-air prison under a complete naval blockade and land siege for the 16 years. Israel is basically Palestinians under collective punishment, violation of Article 33 of the 4th Geneva Convention, which prohibits the targeting of all civilians. What these Palestinians have done is nothing more than to exist. It is a man-made disaster that has been wrought by Israel. We know that this strip that you mentioned is very small. You say that Israel governs it. Israel remains the occupying power of the Gaza Strip, and yet has, for the past 16 years, limited the amount of food that enters, has limited electricity, cut off electricity, target telecommunications buildings, has limited the movement of Palestinians who are able to receive healthcare, even chemo treatment, has prevented Palestinians from harvesting their lands for food or fishing off the coast in order to feed themselves, and has told the world that it is their fault that they are being punished in that way. The World Health Organization told us in 2015 that the Gaza Strip would be unlivable in 2020. It is 2023. That means right now, the Gaza Strip is set up in a way where those trapped Palestinians in the largest ghetto right now on earth are set up to die quietly unless we do something about it. And we have not moved in order to end the siege, to end the occupation, to end the Israeli apartheid regime that sustains this worst form of violence that is leading to this episode and these atrocities that we're witnessing today.
Noura, which leads me to my next question. These attacks by Hamas are an absolute atrocity, but this type of violence and deadly force is not what all Palestinians support. I think it's crucial to point that out. So why don't the Palestinians, and there have been Palestinians who have protested peacefully in the past, why is that voice not louder? Why does that voice not have more influence here?
I would ask your producers, and I would ask other mainstream media producers why they don't amplify those voices much more. The history of Palestinian nonviolent movement is robust and far greater than any of these episodes, and yet it doesn't get the same amount of attention. In 2018, Palestinian youth in Gaza organized the largest civil society protest. 20 to 40,000 Palestinians marched peacefully every single week in the Great March of Return, demanding the right to return to their homelands and an end of the siege. They were shot down like birds by Israeli snipers. There was no coverage of them. The boycott, divestment, sanctions movement takes inspiration from the anti-apartheid movement against South Africa, and yet that is maligned and castigated as being violent, even though that is the quintessential form of nonviolent resistance. In 2011 and 12, civilians boarded flotillas to break the siege on Gaza, and they were commandeered by Israeli naval commandos. Where was the coverage of that? This is not about how Palestinians, whether or not they resist peacefully or violently, this is about the right of Palestinians to resist at all. And it really is the responsibility of media, of international diplomatic capitals, who have not only failed to celebrate and uplift and protect these Palestinians who have been leading these protests, but also is a failure for all of us to isolate Israel and to hold it to account so that we do not sustain these forms of ongoing violence.
And now we are faced with this atrocity, with this savage atrocity that has been committed in Israel. And Israel, any country, if somebody came across a border and did what these people did, this conduct, this barbaric conduct of, you know, stealing children and women out of homes, raping the women, stripping them naked, killing them, parading their dead bodies through the street and praising God for it. I mean, any country's going to respond. Israel's now planning not only this major counteroffensive, it has cut off gas, electricity, and water to Gaza. They claim that's a response to this attack. Talk about the impact that that will have on the civilians of Gaza.
I want to point out two things. Number one, Israel has explicitly said that by cutting off electricity to the Palestinians in Gaza, that is a collective punishment. That is a war crime. Those Palestinians need to be protected. They are under Israel. They should be protected as being occupied. Number two, no, that I believe in the principle that all civilian life is equal and needs to be protected. And yet we are reacting to this moment against attacks against civilians. We're describing it as barbarism. We're hearing Israeli generals who are calling Palestinians human animals. This is basically a racial framework that is desensitizing us to Palestinian death and to be prepared to accept and even applaud that death as something being justified. We need to be aware that if we are indeed against all form of protecting all civilian life, that includes Palestinian life. And that remember that Palestinians also have the right to self-defense. And yet we have told them, not only do you not have the right to self-defense, you do not have the right to even protest. And so we could have avoided this moment, and we can avoid future atrocities by ending the main forms of structural violence in the forms of occupation, in the forms of lifting the siege, and in ending Israel's system of apartheid. Israel has also attacked the Palestinians besieged in Gaza now 5 times since 2008 using advanced weapons technologies, where they have struck homes with Palestinian families in them. Where is the international community? Why do they not step in, restrain Israel, punish it for its apartheid regime, rather than celebrate it by furthering its normalization, by normalizing apartheid, which is a crime against humanity, and then being shocked in moments like this? Our failure to resolve this issue, our failure to end Israeli apartheid and ongoing settler colonization, is the reason we are continuing to see these atrocities. And if we do want to fight for peace, and all of us do, then we not only have to end this particular crisis, but we have to end the conditions that sustain it, namely dismantling Israel's apartheid system, ending the occupation, lifting the siege.
Noura, I think it's fair to say Hamas doesn't want peace. That's not why they're in this. And they're being backed by Iran. And so what we're seeing here is what human rights advocates like you, other scholars, other citizens have been saying for years.
Let me ask you this. If Hamas were to disappear, let me ask you this. If Hamas were to disappear, Israel would not change its policy. Look at the West Bank. In the West Bank, they have the most compliant leader in the form of Mahmoud Abbas, who leads the Fatah Party. Mahmoud Abbas actually coordinates with Israel in order to police Palestinians and to protect Israeli settlements. And what has Israel done there? There have been 3 settler programs against Turmus Aya and Hawara. There have been attacks, naval and aerial and ground invasion of the Jenin refugee camp. There is a wall that is taking the Palestinian land. They have transferred the military occupation to civilian hands, saying that occupation will be permanent. They are going to de facto annex the Jordan Valley. With all due respect, if Hamas were to disappear, Israel does not change its policies towards Palestinians.
So you're saying, it's in the hands of Netanyahu.
What do we have to do for Israel to stop?
You're saying it's in the hands of Benjamin Netanyahu then. Let's say Hamas goes away, which unfortunately I don't think it ever will. But you're saying this lies in the hands of Benjamin Netanyahu.
That's not true. It wasn't founded until 1987, and Israel occupied the Gaza Strip in 1967 and forcibly removed Palestinians 39 years before that in 1948.
I should say it's hard to get rid of terrorism.
Hamas seems to think that Hamas will disappear.
Well, they're the governing authority,
they're
the elected governing authority in Gaza at the moment, and have committed a terrorist atrocity of surpassing cruelty, and that's who they are, and that needs to be dealt with. And
that
as I
is
say,
look, I do not want to be here defending Hamas. As a Palestinian, I would not have voted for them. You are putting me in a very awkward position when you are not taking into account that Hamas was elected into office as a referendum against the failed Oslo Accords, which basically imprisoned Palestinians, which it was a referendum against the PA, which became part of Israel's occupation regime. Then the Palestinians were punished by siege, and Hamas never was given the opportunity to govern and to fail. I am not here to defend Hamas, but people should remember that if they are the governing authority, they have a military wing and a political wing. This military wing is doing what it's doing, but that doesn't make all Palestinians targets.
No
it doesn't justify perpetual unfreedom of Palestinians and their subjugation.
Oh, nope. We pointed that out. We made that very clear. Very clear. There's a big difference between the peaceful protesting Palestinians.
Saying, let us fight for peace together by not only ending this crisis, but also lifting the siege, ending the occupation, and ending the apartheid regime. In 2020, human rights organizations and Israeli human rights organizations says Israel oversees apartheid. That is a crime against humanity. Do you know how violent that is? Day in and day out, that's daily warfare against Palestinians. There has not been sanctions against Israel for its apartheid. They have been celebrated and rewarded. In one night, the European Commission has suspended all aid to Palestinians in 691 million euros. Why can we not enact that kind of political will against apartheid, against a crime against humanity? I am with you. I want peace. Palestinians have been fighting for peace. They have waged nonviolent protest. We are not paying attention to the thousands of Gandhis. And then in moments like this, we are whittling down the situation to Hamas when there is an entire context of 75 years of dispossession, 56 years of occupation, 16 years of siege, and constant warfare. Help us get to peace by placing accountability where it belongs. Israel is not above international law. Israel should not be granted a pass for overseeing an apartheid regime. We're not giving a pass to Palestinians either. And in fact, Hamas submitted itself to the jurisdiction of the International Criminal Court. Here is a lack of parity, and it's not because Hamas is getting a pass or Palestinians is getting a pass. It is because we are giving Israel a pass and not taking account this entire context. We do not heal cancer by placing Band-Aids on bodies. We must remove the tumor. We must address the root cause of this. I am with you. This is atrocious and horrifying. 565 Palestinians have also been killed in 3 days. That doesn't count the 215 Palestinians that have been killed this year. We want peace more than anybody.
Noura Erakat, we thank you for bringing us that context. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Coming up.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.